And I always get asked that question, how come you still have Murphy? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, listen, I was married to that man for years, okay? I earned my name. I deserve my name. I have 5 children with that name. I didn't see any harm in keeping my last name. It doesn't matter.
And the women that they're married to wouldn't believe a word you said about them. And these are the reason why we have to start speaking out. Because these men who are famous or straight or perceived to be these macho guys are coming out behind their wives, their children, having oral sex, being the women behind their women.
In Hollywood, it was after I did Coach Carter, and I saw Eddie Murphy and Johnny Gill tongue kissing, and this is like out in public. So a lot of the things that y'all think they do.
Well. I honestly believe Nicole Murphy had fully moved past the whole Eddie Murphy situation. Wasn't she the one proudly declaring they'd always remain family and that she would forever keep his last name? That was her, right? But beneath those big smiles and polished public comments, insiders whisper that Nicole never truly wanted the divorce to begin with. Word is she was pushed into it because she simply couldn't deal with Eddie constantly stepping out and the unusually close relationships he kept with certain Hollywood connections. And this is where things really heat up because one name keeps surfacing: singer Johnny Gill. Now, no one's saying men can't have strong friendships, but the way Eddie and Johnny carried themselves had people suspicious for years. Matching jewelry? Yep, reports claim they even wore identical bracelets like some kind of hidden signal. And then came the real shocker. Johnny allegedly submitted to a lie detector test just to shut down speculation that he and Eddie were more than friends. Now picture being Nicole, watching your husband's so-called friendship get so heavily questioned that it needed a polygraph test. That doesn't exactly sound like the formula for a happy marriage.
And because of the gay rumors, you actually did a polygraph test with her? That's wild, man.
Yeah.
That's wild to have to actually go through that extent to show that you're straight. Like that's crazy to me.
You know, it was crazy because the rumor had been going for so long.
Yeah.
And so you start to realize and look at certain things, like I said, like a record label. They was talking to record label, like, well, we would, but I think, he's gay, so we don't want to. It's like, so we hear it's all this stuff that's going. And I remember her telling me about her friends saying this and saying that, and blah, blah, blah. She never asked me to do it, but I wanted to show her something. I wanted to prove a point to her.
Now here's where things really take a turn. Word on the street is Nicole herself began suspecting that there might actually be some truth to all the whispers about Eddie and Johnny, because what she allegedly witnessed during her marriage was far too much to brush off, which leads to the big question everyone's been murmuring for years. What was really happening between Eddie Murphy and Johnny Gill? See, even before the Johnny talk went mainstream, people were already side-eyeing Eddie for the kinds of situations he always seemed to land in. Sure, Eddie showcased a roster of women, Hollywood stars, models, you name it. And he's got the kids as proof. But insiders insist those flashy relationships were nothing but a cover-up for what Eddie was actually into. Then came the scandal that nearly destroyed his entire career. Back in 1997, Eddie was caught cruising through West.
Eddie Murphy tells ET that his wife and children were out of town, says he wanted something to read and went to a late-night newsstand. He stopped here and picked up the suspected transsexual at 4:45 in the morning. He says he thought he was aiding a distraught woman.
Looks like a pretty Hawaiian girl in the corner crying. It looks like she was crying. She goes, oh, Eddie Murphy. She noticed him at the light. She recognized Eddie Murphy. Oh my God. So I go, what are you doing? Why are you out here working the streets so late? She goes, oh, I'm on my way home. Can you give me a ride home?
Police tailed them for 2 miles before pulling him over.
Eddie Murphy once told ET that his wife and kids were out of town when everything went down. He claimed he just wanted something to read and stopped by a late-night newsstand. That's when he supposedly came across a woman who looked upset on the corner around 4:45 in the morning. Eddie described her as a beautiful, Hawaiian-looking girl who seemed to be crying. She noticed him at the light, recognized who he was, and called out, "Oh, Eddie." According to his story, he asked her why she was out there so late, and she told him she was heading home, asking if he could give her a ride. But police had been trailing his car for a couple of miles, and when they finally pulled him over in Hollywood, things took a sharp turn. Sitting in that car was a 20-year-old transgender escort named Adesoni Shalomartui, and the news exploded across the tabloids. When pressed, Eddie brushed it off as him simply trying to help someone in need. But let's be real, the public never bought that excuse, especially since Nicole and the kids weren't even home at the time. To many, it looked like Eddie was living a whole double life whenever his family wasn't around. That scandal left a stain on his reputation that never fully faded, and then there was Octavia St. Laurent. Bold, outspoken, and unapologetic about living her truth as a transgender woman, Octavia never bit her tongue for anyone. Rumor has it she and Eddie were involved, but she grew furious at the way he kept her hidden, as though he was ashamed to be seen with her. She called him out publicly, daring Eddie to deny their situation, insisting she was telling the truth. Here's the shocking part. All of this was happening while Eddie was still married to Nicole. No wonder the tabloids went wild. Insiders whispered that what pushed Nicole closer to divorce wasn't just Eddie's late-night scandals. It was also his overly close bond with certain male friends. And of course, the name that kept resurfacing was none other than R&B star Johnny Gill. Those Eddie and Johnny whispers didn't just pop up overnight. They go all the way back to the 90s, when fans noticed how inseparable the two seemed, from matching jewelry to moving around like a package deal. For Nicole, that constant cloud of suspicion never left her marriage. Even after Eddie's brief marriage to Tracy Edmonds crumbled, Johnny's name popped up again. Out of nowhere, he started giving his take on why the relationship failed, even pointing the finger at Tracy's mother. His comments were so bold they shocked everyone. Tracy quickly clapped back, telling Johnny to stay out of her business and calling his statements outrageous lies meant to boost his own image. Her final words hit hardest. "We all know the real truth." That line left people questioning what Johnny really knew about Eddie's relationships and why he felt entitled to speak on them. Things only got messier when one of Johnny's ex-girlfriends admitted she had to leave him because she couldn't handle how close he and Eddie were. She flat out said she felt like she wasn't competing with another woman, but with Eddie himself. Imagine that. A breakup caused not by infidelity with another lover, but by a man's best friend. Sources even claimed that during Eddie and Nicole's marriage, Johnny wasn't just visiting, he was literally living in the guest house on Eddie's property. Picture Nicole trying to hold her marriage together while her husband's best friend stayed just steps away. That kind of pressure must have been overwhelming. Rumors say Eddie and Johnny's connection has lasted to this very day, with whispers about them still surfacing at exclusive Hollywood parties. One former escort even alleged he saw them getting intimate at a Diddy event and swore he wasn't making it up. Johnny threatened legal action, but the escort doubled down, saying he had no reason to lie. And here's the thing. In Hollywood, rumors this consistent rarely appear out of thin air. For decades, people have said, "Where there's smoke, there's fire." And when it comes to Eddie and Johnny, that fire's been burning for years. Why is it nobody has ever seen Johnny with a serious woman on his arm, yet he's always been right by Eddie's side? Fans can't help but connect the dots. Even Eddie's past scandal with the escort arrest always gets dragged back into the conversation, because it fits the narrative people can't seem to let go of. Hollywood insiders have long called it an open secret, one of those unspoken rules where nobody publicly questions why Johnny is always in Eddie's shadow, but behind closed doors, everyone knows. Former assistants, party promoters, even old friends have all hinted at the same thing, that Eddie and Johnny's bond was deeper than just friendship. Decades have passed. Eddie's been linked to plenty of women, married, divorced, but somehow Johnny's name never leaves the picture. To many, that speaks volumes. And for Nicole, this wasn't just gossip. This was her real life. She tried to keep up appearances, smiling in public while quietly breaking under the pressure of constant whispers. Friends say she felt like she was sharing her marriage, not with another woman, but with her husband's closest male companion. That betrayal cut deeper than infidelity because it blurred loyalty, respect, and boundaries. Insiders believe that no matter how much Nicole tried to ignore it, the Eddie and Johnny rumors became one of the main reasons she finally walked away. Because if there's one thing Hollywood has proven, it's that some rumors never die. They just get louder. Eddie Murphy may have built a career filled with comedy, movies, and headlines, but through it all, whispers of Johnny Gill have followed him like a shadow he can't escape. Nicole Murphy stood tall as long as she could, but even she couldn't silence the noise. From lie detector tests to girlfriends walking out, from matching jewelry to explosive party confessions, this story has stretched across decades and it refuses to disappear. Hollywood might call it gossip. Eddie and Johnny might brush it off, but the fact that people are still talking after all these years says more than either of them ever will. Fans believe something is there. The real question is, will the truth ever surface, or will it stay one of Hollywood's most infamous open secrets? Either way, the Eddie and Johnny saga has carved itself into Tinseltown history, and Nicole's heartbreak is forever tied to that legacy. And if you thought this tea was scalding hot, just wait, because the next story we've got lined up is even more explosive. Stay tuned with BarzBuzz.